none of them have gotten it right. This to me is the money box, okay? Literally. That's the irony in all of this, is that these families have essentially been warring for decades, and they all know each other. So you would think, presumably, if they could recognize the new threat, that they actually should be able to come together and have a meal, have a dinner, and say, hey, let's team up, guys. Porsche's doing some integration with Apple Music. Baidu also has an operating system for the connected car. Here's the interesting thing in the automotive space is autonomous driving is still many, many years away. There's a lot of buzz, but it's still years away before it gets here in a real way. The key thing that these automakers are trying to do in the interim is to monetize the connected vehicle. Now all these connected vehicles are becoming connected to the internet, and they're saying, oh, well, how can I get a piece of that? How can I let other people integrate into the car and monetize that? And the problem is that none of them have gotten it right. They're trying to enable, like telematics solutions, or I would say a lot of like commercial solutions, right? If you are buying a fleet of vehicles, you're Comcast, or you are Hertz, and now you need these tools to manage where the cars are, maybe some keyless entry, kind of like maintenance and repair type of analytics. They're going to sell you those commercial solutions. Problem is, they can't really make any money off of those commercial solutions. They're making pennies on the dollar, and they're charging for API calls. There's no money there. Where there is a lot of money is what no automotive OEM has been able to tap into. But I think I'd probably put my money on Google being able to tap into it. So Google has this thing called Android Automotive. Android Automotive has signed up, I think, Honda and a few other players that are going to put this into their vehicles. So Android Automotive, you think of it as an operating system for the vehicle. And so when that operating system goes into the vehicle, now it's able to control certain functions in the connected car, like being able to unlock the car, like being able to report the gas mileage, or unlock the trunk, or unlock the gas panel.
There's a lot of vehicle data and unique data to that vehicle locked into basically that system. If you're not embedded in the vehicle, you're not going to get access to that easily. And by basically taking over that entire system, Google basically is getting them to open the kimono.
And what is Google very good at? Every platform, one of the most basic strategies that we see time and time again is technology is commoditized. You give away the technology for free to get access to the ecosystem.
Right.
And
exactly
so
what they did with Android.
Exactly. It's exactly what they did with Android. And I think what we're starting to see here is that Google's going to be able to say, hey, tier 2 auto OEMs, here's this thing called Waymo. You don't have autonomous driving technology nearly as good as we do.
Right.
And it's so expensive, and you just have no way to get there. So we're going to give you access to Waymo. You're going to also have to use Android Automotive, put our operating system into your car. And they're going to basically subsidize this and make it very economical for these auto OEMs to sign up. Why is Google going to do this? And this is actually even separate even from the autonomy options here, right? There are so many services going into the vehicle every year. I think we looked at it. There's $1 trillion worth of services going into the connected car every year. That could be things like gas, insurance. Now there's a couple Airbnbs for your car, Turo and Get Around, right? I can rent my car out and make money on the car when I'm not using it. You can get a package delivered to your trunk. There's all of this functionality now that's going into the car. And there's a whole burgeoning group of people that are saying, hey, I'm at work. I'm at my desk during the day. I've got my car parked in the building's parking lot. Could someone come and just deliver gas to my car while I'm at work? I don't need to get gas on the way back. And what these on-demand gas delivery companies are finding out is the economics are actually roughly the same to have a mobile gas truck come to your car and give you gas, as long as they can service enough cars in a given, say, lot, because you don't have all the overhead associated with having prime real estate, having a gas station, having all the other things that come along with that. So the economics of this are actually somewhat evening out. And there's a few on-demand gas companies that have raised tens of millions of dollars. So not huge sums of money, but pretty decent sized sums of money. And so you add all that up, you've got $1 trillion worth of stuff, even before autonomous services come into the arena, not even including things like ride sharing, like Uber and Lyft, right? And so what Google's setting themselves up to do is to go to these third-party tech companies, Turo, GetAround, the on-demand gas companies, the insurance companies, the delivery, package delivery companies, et cetera, the maintenance companies to come and do maintenance on your car, all this stuff. And they're saying, hey, wouldn't it be nice if you could let your users unlock their car from your app? Would you pay us fees on that total revenue and give us a cut of the transaction if we could give you this functionality? And the process is so arduous today to get access to the vehicle.
Well, even if you even can.
Right. If you're even, or I mean, you have to put a lockbox on your car,
right,
or hack into the vehicle.
Right. Basically, you hack into it using the ports on the vehicle to basically plug a device in that can kind of mimic the kind of command and control functionality that you would want to get ideally just from the vehicle. But given that a lot of that stuff is locked down and really only in most vehicle makers' kind of proprietary apps and this kind of stuff, it's not something that any of these companies can really get access to easily.
Now, see, if you look at this screenshot here, so this is Android Automotive. Seeing this bottom left here, it's kind of cut off. Locking. This to me is the money box. Okay, literally, you enable this connectivity around getting access to the vehicle. There's no other clearer form of gatekeeper. Literally, you are the locking gatekeeper to get into the car. And now you can say, okay, hey, Turo, GetAround, hey, on-demand gas delivery companies, package delivery companies, maintenance companies, insurance companies. If I give you the ability to let in your user, or if I'm on Turo and I'm renting my car out to someone, if I'm renting my car out to Nick on Turo, and I can now let Nick remotely get into that car from Nick's Turo app, and I, as the owner of the car, don't have to leave Nick a lockbox or go into my car's app.
Or jailbreak my car.
Go into my car's app and then let Nick into the car. I mean, just think about the friction in those steps.
And the cost in some cases, if you're appending a lockbox to your vehicle, if you're getting these basically jailbreaking devices, they're expensive. And these are things that the companies like Turo and GetAround subsidize and send to the producers, the sellers in some cases.
Yep.
And if you could take that cost entirely out of it, then you're saving the money, and that's
right.
Something they'd pay for.
And so I'd be willing to bet if Google and Android Automotive can get a decent amount of connected vehicles on the road, pool all their vehicles together, and then give access via common APIs to third-party tech startups that are trying to deliver services into the vehicle. And then they can have a take rate on that service throughput, on that GMV. It's a lock. It'll be an overnight success. And I don't know what the automotive OEMs do to combat that. They're all trying to do their own thing. You know, they're not teaming up together. What they need to do is really team up together and create their own version of the Open Handset Alliance.
They still think they're competing with each other, not competing with Google and Baidu and some of these other companies.
Their real competitors are Apple, Google, Amazon, Baidu. I think Alibaba's doing some stuff in there as well.
Yep.
Their old competitors are their new allies. And that mindset shift has not really resonated with the leadership in these companies. The interesting thing about these car companies is actually a number of them are still family owned. Ford, Fiat Chrysler,
Toyota, right?
Toyota, BMW. The ownership is actually very tightly knit. That's the irony in all of this, is that these families have essentially been warring for decades,
right.
And they all know each other. So you would think, presumably, if they could recognize the new threat, that they actually should be able to come together and have a meal, have a dinner, and say, "Hey, let's let's team up, guys, because there's a new enemy and actually multiple enemies in town. Oh, and by the way, they're just the biggest companies in the world.
It's a bit of a Romeo and Juliet situation here.
You would think. So, be interesting what happens with that. Hi, this is Alex Mozed. Thanks for joining us on Winner Take All. If you enjoyed the content today, which I bet you did, please comment, subscribe, and definitely message me on Twitter when we're doing live streams. Also, please note, all opinions expressed about stocks or public companies on the show are exactly that, opinions. This is not investment advice. Don't act on it. WisdomTree licensed Applico's Platform Insights data product to aid in the creation of the PLAT ETF. Thanks for joining us.